Chop it down, chop it down, chop it down, you gon' chop it down. Chop it down, you gon' chop it down. Damn, set, watch him throw the ball, we gon' pick it off. You gon' let him hit the hole or you gon' cut it off. You gon' play through fourth and long or you gon' punt it off. Your defenders heavy hitters, put your pads in. Don't be looking for the ref to throw no flags in. Keep the helmet on, keep the cleats tight. You the type to want to win by any means, right? You should look alive, this is Trap or Dive.
Yes, sir. Welcome back to another episode of Trap or Dive Podcast. I'm your host of the Trap or Dive Podcast, Mual. What's going on with you, Al, too? He said, this show, you create a culture, draft status means nothing. And yeah, no problem, man. It is a reasonable time. You know, we missed yesterday evening. So we weren't able to get that one out the way. So let's kind of get some updates going on, get some overall thoughts on the mob. You know, we had Dan Quinn speak earlier today. And we know we have an update on Jayden Daniels, a slight update, so that was good timing. And you know, I guess apparently he ain't the only one that fell over and banged his ribs up. Hey, Jayden gonna play, bruh. Let's get the administrative items out of the way. If you are new to the Trap or Dive Podcast, make sure you hit that like button on the YouTube side. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. If you are listening on the audio side, we definitely appreciate you tapping in as well on that side. So go ahead and hit us with a follow if you haven't followed the podcast yet. And if you are on Apple Podcasts or whichever platform, Spotify as well, get us with a rating and review. That is definitely appreciated. So we can kind of tackle Jayden in a. Let's start off rip. Let's kind of get that out of the way because Jamin Davis got cut since we last spoke. Some trade interest, albeit not Washington, but there's some names circling around that may be available, right? So we're gonna talk about that. And obviously a couple other lingering things here that I felt that would be interesting as we gear up for the preview show tomorrow. So Dan Quinn spoke. He spoke around 12:30 today. And he flat out said Jayden Daniels will not practice today. And I think the next update that we will get on Jayden is Friday. As I'm recording this, Marcus Mariota has not spoken. He is slated to speak today for the media. And I also think that for Washington, this is going to be pretty interesting moving forward because right now they're 3-point underdogs against the Chicago Bears, right? And how I look at that is you're only first off, if they are like a true underdog with Jayden Daniels, I would be thoroughly surprised, right? But with the status of him being unknown, I think that level of uncertainty heading into a big game like this, I think is interesting. Now, granted, I don't think if they were to play, let's throw a team out there, the Bengals this week, like a team that like a lower, like on their level type, but also an AFC opponent. I still think they would have treated this week the exact same. So I don't think it's a particular opponent, but I do think because both teams are 5-2 heading into the matchup, the level of ambiguity, I think I used that word right, is a little bit more important this week, right? So for Jayden to not be available right now, not practicing, I think that is one nugget to think about. Additionally, I am also hearing what he's saying. I think the preparation in terms of like treatment comes first. So Nikki Javala, reading her tweets, he said it's in the presser as well, but reading his tweets, he'll get treatment today and participate in meetings. So at the very least, that's what you're going to get. But not a lot of things changes for Jayden apparently from Dan. He says he does his walkthroughs, film studies, and all of that stuff. So he gets a lot of mental reps, right? So I think that's kind of interesting. But Mariota is the guy right now where he is slated to play. Not officially, but presumably in the case that Jayden can't go. My opinion on this whole ordeal, a lot of people are concerned about his ribs and just his overall health, and they should be, right? But I also think that this is one of those moments where I look at Jayden, and the first thing that I think is like, one, he's going to play. If it's up to him. Sorry. If it's up to him, he's going to play. Two, if it's up to the coaches, I think he's going to play. And what I mean by that is they're not going to let Jayden sit a game if the doctors clear him, right? The abundance of caution would only exist for Jayden, I believe, if there is a chance that he can significantly re-injure himself. From what we come to understand, from his mama down to the week-to-week diagnosis, he'll be fine. It's just a matter of like, can he tolerate the pain, but also what can he do from Sunday when he got injured and the recovery started then up until 4/25. What day is it? October 27th. What can he do from Sunday to the day he got injured, on the day he got injured, up until October 27th at 4/25 to be ready to play? I think that's everybody's most important conversation or inquiry right now, right? It has nothing to do with him practicing. I think him not practicing and for 1 week physically practicing is going to be able to that's not going to change anything. He can probably miss a week of practice, physical practice, without those reps and still be able to play on Sunday. With all that being said, I think my opinion stands firm. Play him. If he can play him. And it has nothing to do with the Caleb Williams situation, right? We know this is a huge conversation from Commander side and Chicago side, right? Like, the schedule thing, Jayden Daniels constantly getting hurt, or the Bears fans trying to justify these awards that aren't going Caleb's way. Like he's playing in a more competent or complicated offense, and Jayden is a one-read quarterback. It has nothing to do with that. I think that this is one of those moments where I see the competitor in Jayden. Slamming your helmet down in that moment, like when the coaches or the trainers are telling you, man, we got to take you back in the locker room. That's a person who is really going through it. He wants to be on that field. So if I'm the guy, I'll let him play if the doctors clear him. One more thing to note. At this point in the season, point me to a person who is 100% healthy, right? I think that goes out the window after like week 1 or week 2. So if you're a person out there who are suggesting, I don't want him outside, I don't want him on the field unless he's 100% healthy. If you're one of those people in particular, I ain't going down that road. I'm not going down that road. And I think for Washington, they understand that this is probably the point of the season where you really need to just be able to bear through some things. Whether it's a severe injury, severe injury, you're probably not going to be on the field. But whether it's like a lower tier injury versus like a significant injury, that's kind of where I'm at. So that's the latest update. Not practicing. Won't probably get another update until Friday. And I say play him. Our twos in the chat says, I don't think AP is big game hunting unless there's excellent value. Bro loves the draft too much. As long as Scary Terry and B-Rob with this O-line are out there, I believe in the offense. Also want to give love to Sheldon Day, bro. Look good out there. No, Sheldon Day did look good. Sheldon Day looked really good. I actually did a film session this morning that I published on Hog Saving. If you haven't taken a look at that, go ahead and do that. That film session covers a couple of plays in the run game that kind of showed, the type of data they had defensively. Sheldon Day popped up a few times. Out to is where I'm getting at. So if you want to take a look at the film session, that's where it's going to be this week. There's probably we're gonna keep it at that one. Okay. All right. So where are we at? Give me 2 seconds. Jamin Davis is cut. Jamin Davis was cut yesterday. And the more interesting thing is what happened after he got cut. I've been seeing it down all over my timeline. He's been blocking people left and right. And I guess it's some people who said something about him or had an opinion on him or something like that, in which he's just blocked. He went on a whole blocking spree on the Commanders fan base. I don't know, but for Jamin to be cut, I think he probably, outside of Emmanuel Forbes, Jamin is probably the person who really benefited the most from the coaching staff, right? And what I mean by that, because and it's not fair for Jamin to be in a situation where, he has to go from being a stand-up linebacker to now having his hand in the dirt. That's not fair, especially in your last year of your contract, and it didn't pick your fifth-year option up. You know that your time is limited if you do not perform immediately for this new coaching regime, right? But what I think is important for Jamin. What I think is important for Jamin is that, 6 weeks into the season, that was actually an extended time period for you to really show what you can do to stay on this roster. Credit to Jamin because he took this offseason really well. I think if you remember his pressers, Jamin was a person who embraced the change. He did whatever the coaches wanted him to. And I think that, you can fall in favor of the coaching staff, right? Or you can get in their favor. And, as the time moves on, you got some flashes in preseason. The overall impact that you have becomes limited. I see a person in Jamin who, never gave a poor effort, right? But when you look at his ability to consistently threaten in the pass game, it wasn't good enough. Solid run defender for what it's worth, but a different beast when you have a hand in the dirt and you have to be able to maintain your gap and find the football. He made some plays where his athleticism took over, but it wasn't always something where you're like, his technique and his athletic ability took over. Overall, he was just behind the 8 ball. That's unfortunate. But what also probably encouraged Washington to release, it's weird because you get rid of, or you have to IR, not get rid of, your rookie defensive end from Notre Dame. I'm drawing a blank on his name. I don't know why, because I like him. Oh, Lord. This is about to bother me. Washington. I got to look it up because it's about to bother me. And I know y'all probably know it in the chat, so if y'all in the chat can help me out. Washington Commanders injured reserve. I'm over here peeking at the chat. No, not McGee. But he did get activated today. I'm talking about the one they did put on IR. Hold on. Commanders. Injure. Reserve. This is about to throw me off. Javonte Jean Baptiste. Javonte John Baptiste. I like him. And Javonte, even with him going on IR, right? They didn't utilize Jamin like to the point where like his reps significantly increased. They relied on Dante Fowler, Dorrance Armstrong, Cleveland Farrell, and obviously Dorrance Armstrong is a person who got injured too, right? So we're talking about a person in Jamin Davis who, Javonte John Baptiste. But we're talking about a person in Dorrance Armstrong who just put on IR, right? Or I don't know if he's on IR yet. But point is, like, they still aren't thinking about Jamin in terms of like somebody who's increasing their role. They utilize other individuals. And F.A. Obata has come back. And while I don't know how like he feels personally, right? But F.A. Obata came back at the right time to play against the Carolina Panthers. Had a solid game. And that probably can influence their decision-making on the defensive line, right? And that's something that you got to think about as well. I know there was people like really wondering why Jamin Davis was inactive when the initial news came out when he was having these DNPs or not even dressed up, right? Like, why is he not playing? And ultimately, time showed itself. Time revealed why he wasn't necessarily in favor. But also, you got to remember, this defensive line and that front seven was still getting gashed in the run game, and that was before Jamin even stepped on the field. They was getting gashed with and without him. So there are several different areas to think about, to consider for why he got cut. And obviously, like the elephant in the room is the Ron Rivera aspect of like his first round picks not panning out beyond a couple of years on the team. I don't think something needs to be said about that. In particular, I think it speaks for itself. But I think for Adam Peters and Dan Quinn, it's very much important for them moving forward to like erase the stench of former first round picks, let alone second round picks, right? Johnny Newton, I still think he's getting acclimated as a defender, interior defensive lineman in the NFL. Being able to hold up against those double teams is something that I think he has to just understand a little bit better. I'm talking about like leverage, playing with low pad level. He's getting knocked off his feet a lot. And when I say I should say getting knocked back. He's not necessarily getting pancaked or anything, but creating a hole is creating a hole. So, but Johnny Newton outside of that, like, he still has his flashes here and there. He just has to get acclimated a little bit more. But getting rid of the stench of that first round, getting rid of the stench of the second round, all of those instances or those moments where like a draft is meant, like when you get those top 100 picks, to be able to have a better chance for yourself from properly identifying or properly scouting, but also playing the draft board right? Jamin Davis is a person where Ron Rivera and them overthunk. Took him over another linebacker that was out there in JOK. Emmanuel Forbes, he got a pick against Carolina, but something that they overthunk. A lot of controversy. Christian Gonzalez went to the Patriots, but you're talking about a person in Emmanuel Forbes who they were attracted by his ability to catch the football, right? But ignored some other, red flags in a sense that comes to fruition in the pros. So you got to make sure that for Adam Peters and Dan Quinn and company, right? It's not even just Dan Quinn. It's really Adam Peters and his staff. You just got to ensure that this is one of those situations where, they turn the tide from that first and second round draft picks. That's it. So hopefully they do come through. I think this draft class so far, bottom line, if you hit on Jayden Daniels, right, that's the part that matters, because Jayden Daniels was the cash cow. That's the person you can't whiff on. That quarterback, whoever you drafted, and I'm convinced like they found their quarterback. So point blank period. I'm not afraid that I'm speaking too soon. I think I'm speaking perfectly fine at the right time. So I think Washington's biggest decision was that quarterback position, and I think that they held it or got it done properly. Who am I thinking of? Brandon Coleman. Altu said he thinks that all the rookies seem to be coming along slowly, other than Jayden. It depends on how you look at it, right? Brandon Coleman is, if you're a starter, like the way that, think about it like this. Brandon Coleman, when is the last time you've ever seen a full 7 games into a season, right? And maybe 8 if Brandon Coleman is available moving forward. By the way, Dan Quinn did mention Brandon Coleman. He said that, he's still being evaluated for his concussion, but things are progressing well for Brandon. But think about it like this. If you say somebody's progressing slowly, right, not to necessarily pick on Altu, not saying that, more so just pointing out something. You haven't really seen a coaching staff 6 or 7 weeks into a season have a rotation at left tackle, bro. That doesn't happen. So for Washington, them recognizing what Brandon Coleman can do for them and not fully putting him on a back burner, like, let me see how I can. Brandon Coleman has, I'm about to look it up. Hold on. Oh, it just popped up for me. Brandon Coleman has 181 snaps so far into the season. He would have had more than 181 if he didn't get knocked out of the game for the concussion part, right? So you're talking about a person who is getting some valuable reps at left tackle, one of the more premium positions in the NFL in the regular season, right? So it's just a matter of time till they make a decision in terms of who they want to move forward. Now, there is a film session I'm going to be having coming out on Coleman. There's definitely some things he needs to continue to work on and pass protection for sure. But I think that he's been solid so far. I think that there is people that's giving him too much credit for some of the work that he's been doing. And what I mean by that is like the scheme, the protection scheme for the Commanders offense altogether helps the tackles. And that needs to be recognized. Bobby Johnson, his ability to protect or scheme up protections needs to be recognized. And obviously Jayden Daniels, his ability to get rid of the ball quick enough or make something happen in the backfield, that needs to be recognized as well. So not to diminish Brandon Coleman, I'm just saying I think that he's getting too much credit for his current development. I think that's a byproduct of his supporting staff or supporting cast, excuse me. But yeah, they just need to hit on their draft picks, man. Jamin Davis goes down, one more pick left in terms of like high-end picks in Emmanuel Forbes. Derek Ford still on the roster. Brian Robinson. John Bates still on the roster. Obviously some other people that I haven't. Sam Cosmi still on the roster. De'Ami Brown is making some contributions. He's actually almost approaching his career high in receptions and yards at this point. De'Ami Brown. And he doesn't even have over 200 yards yet. But he's getting close to his career high. And he doesn't even have 10 catches on the season yet. So that kind of tells you the type of career he's had to this point. And I'm laughing because it's like in reality, that's terrible. But this year they're finding a way to use him in critical situations, like where he can get you some chunk yardage. And that is definitely something where it's like, all right, I see you now, De'Ami. You're not doing anything special, but you are contributing in a way that is not being forced, and you're finding a niche, however you say it. So yeah, that's that on Jamin Davis. In my opinion. Let's talk about trades. So there hasn't been any information recently specifically related to Washington. Let me actually make sure I covered everything I needed to cover for. Yeah. Okay. So trade wise, right? Like, where would I think if you're Washington, bruh, your best option if you were in the trade market would be to get an individual on the defensive side of the football. I made it seem like it was some profound thing that I was about to say, but I just wanted to make sure I worded myself carefully. And what I mean by that is, I think people kind of like, even put it this way. Think about this. When Cooper Kupp was announced yesterday that he would be on the trade market, I seen about 5 tweets acknowledging Cooper Kupp being traded or being on the trade block, but also asking the question or making the statement that Washington should be interested in Cooper Kupp. Why? The offense looks fine. The offense looks fine as is, and you got to remember, Jayden Daniels is the reason why that offense is moving. And Cliff Kingsbury, excuse my ignorance, got to mention him too. They're the reason why this offense is moving the way that it's moving. So you gotta keep that in mind when you think about these names that come up, right? Defensively, if you can get a guy that's not a 1-year rental, right? Although the way that this season is trending, all you gotta do is win 3 games in the playoffs. See what I'm saying? All you gotta do is win 3 games when you get in. So, a 1-year rental could be something that's interesting or appealing to Washington, but I don't think they're going to do that. I think they're going to go after a guy who they can envision in Washington for multiple years. Al too said, don't forget about Scary Terry in that equation. I mean, of course, that's a given, but you know, the leaders on that offense is the people who has the ball in their hand 100% of the time and the person who's making the calls. So that's kind of where I was getting at. But defensively, sorry. When I look at something like that, I say the big fish is interesting. Now, I'm interested in that. I'm interested in Myles Garrett. There have been teams calling about Myles Garrett, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm interested in that. I would be willing to cough up some money. Compensation is what I should say. To get Myles Garrett on this team. He's 29 years old. I don't give a damn if he's about to be 30. I would take a Myles Garrett in a heartbeat. Best believe. So for me, if we're talking about big fish, that's my dog. Another guy that's my dog stays on that team too. Denzel Ward. I'm making a call about him. That's a guy I'd be willing to compensate the Browns for. So for those two in particular, is somebody that I would reach out to and I'd be interested, right? Those are the bigger and more obvious names on the team that's kind of out there. floating around. And I wish. Let me see if I can actually find. Let me see if I can find. Is it in my bookmarks? No, it is not. Okay. So that's unfortunate. Okay. Yeah, I'm trying to figure out like a full list of like the trade rumors, the people who've been out there to discuss trades. It's somebody I'm missing that actually somebody got permission to start looking for a trade. That actually may have been the Cooper Kupp conversation. So that's that. I don't know. I don't want to say that they aren't definitively right. I wouldn't put that past Washington. If you can get, you got to think contractually speaking for Myles Garrett. Now, Max Crosby, I don't think he's going anywhere. And I think he's younger than Myles Garrett too. I think Vegas sees the value in them. And I think like Vegas sees the value in them because from a different perspective, right? That's from Cleveland. Cleveland is, they're going to get rid of Deshaun Watson soon. They're going to have to find a way to get rid of, offload some money, but also do right by a person who, done right by them. Besides the helmet swinging incident. So I think that's why it's like, if there is some conversation, again, this is all just rumor based too. Like they may not have any intention the same way that the Raiders probably likely doesn't. To move Myles Garrett, and they're willing to take on that cap hit that Deshaun Watson will have when they cut him, because they're going to cut him, and just live with it. So I wouldn't put it past them. Other players that I think about they aren't going to be like ascending players. And I can't give you no names. I'm sorry. There's going to be an established player in the secondary, maybe an established player on the defensive line. It's not going to be a linebacker, but it's going to be some established player who can really, again, be here for multiple seasons. And that they'll be willing to keep on their roster beyond 2024 if they have to like extend, right? So I think that's kind of the thing that we're looking at if they do explore the trade avenue before the trade deadline. You have 2 more weeks. Al too, like what makes you think that they're in a pure rebuild and that Justin Simmons can be offloaded? Like, what if the new coaching regime wants a Justin Simmons in their rebuild, right? Who knows? Hey, Jalen, appreciate you checking in. Yes, it was a big move, D-Hop to the Chiefs. I might be wrong, but I don't know about. I'd be interested in Jeff Simmons, but you need edge help. Like, I think that's the big thing with Washington. They really need the edge help. They got too much money in John and Duran, which is unfortunate, right? Given the lack of success they've had in terms of like wrecking games. But I think you need edge help more than anything, and that's the more important part. So I think it's gonna be a person if they do trade. I'm still at like, I would say in terms of something actually happen and there's a scale of 1 to 5, I'm at like a 2. I don't see anything necessarily happening. I think that Washington's in a position where, they're willing to thug it out. They're going to have some people on IR for a couple of weeks. They just have to survive those few weeks. You're getting some people back. Like I said, Jordan McGee's coming back. The extent to which he'll be able to play on defense is one thing, right? I think he'll be a special teams guy. But also how he's going to get acclimated to the actual NFL game is going to be different too, because he only played a couple snaps in preseason. So that's going to be different. So we got to take all of those things into consideration. Sensei, what's up, player? What's up, player? If you haven't done so, man, make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. We definitely appreciate y'all checking in. Let's see. I'm about to get y'all a live read of Underdog Fantasy. Why is my thing? Okay. Here we go, y'all. So listen. It's currently Boostober on Underdog. Boostober on Underdog, right? Where it's a promo to play nearly every day. From now until October 27th, you can boost your profit on all NBA entries by 20%. Yep. Literally, Underdog is giving you unlimited profit boost to make basketball entries. It's the best place to play champions, so sign up using promo code TrapperDive to get up to $1,000 in bonus cash instantly. This season, Underdog is going to be running a special promo or bonus almost every single day, like profit boosts, discounts, and free picks. Now, I told y'all in previous ads, right, about that Brian Robinson thing, B-Rob touchdowns. This week, now I am going to dabble into the NBA. I'm not too sure what I'm going to do just yet. But if you know better, you better hammer the Brian Robinson touchdown. You better hammer that pick. I'm telling you. He got it every single time he in the game. So make sure you hit higher than that 0.5 or 0.5 on his touchdown stats. You can highlight your winnings from Underdog as well. It's fun and simple in terms of the playing experience. So download the app, use promo code TrapperDive if you haven't done so already, to get up to $1,000 in bonus cash instantly. That's promo code TrapperDive for $1,000 bonus cash on your first deposit. So just keep in mind, you must be 18 or older, and present in the state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Void in Colorado. Concerned with your play, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. Arizona, you call 1-800-NEXT-STEP or 1-800-639-8783, or text Next Step to 53342. Or in New York, call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY to 467-369. Hey man, BCG out too. Cam Jordan, you gotta look at his. Do me a favor and look at Cam Jordan. Well, Cam Jordan is an interior guy too, but look at his production over the last 2 seasons. When you get a chance, out too. Excuse me, and get back to me. Let me know what you think about Cam Jordan. He ain't helping us. he ain't helping us, and he ain't staying past the year. He was already thinking about retiring. Keep that in mind. Game preview with Dre and AJ is tomorrow. So we'll have a Bears guest on to preview that. I would love to get their perspective of how real this Jayden Daniels faux beef is. With the Commanders fans and things like that. But yeah, I ain't here with Cam either, Grunt. But I'm interested to see what they got to say about the whole matchup and as they preview things there. There was a person that I do want to put a spotlight on. Let's see. Where are we at? Okay. It's a couple people who've been saying this. How do I want to share. Oh, there we go. All right, cool. Let's go ahead and show you what I'm talking about. All right. Ooh, we don't want to do that. Okay. All right, so freezing cold takes. Old takes exposed. Made a comment. Or posted a screenshot. The Commanders from, who is this? Kev Masaresian. Commanders are having one of their worst off seasons I can recall from a new regime. Zach Ertz, Austin Eckler, and Bobby Wagner as marquee signings. Retread head coach and Dan Quinn, who was far from first choice, and ass backwards Kingsbury at OC. Cherry on top will be if they pass on May for Daniels. Where is the guy X? I want to show you. He works for somebody. Oh, here he is. All right. So Roto Surgeon works for Fox Sports, which is a little bit, it's a little bit weird that you work. I don't know exactly what he does specifically for Fox Sports, right? But the company in itself, for you to have that opinion. Now, this is in hindsight, right? I think for you to have that opinion is one thing, but it's not the problem of having that opinion back when he said it in, what was that, March? It's not. I think there's some fans in Washington who probably felt some type of way about the offseason that they had to that point. But it's you doubling down that makes things the problem, right? And this is what I wanted to get into. His rebuttal was a few things. I'm gonna read a couple of them. Commanders fans trying to cook this after 7 games. He made 3 bullet points. 23rd ranked defense despite Dan Quinn being a defensive head coach. Jayden Daniels, better than May, looked good, but he's already hurt, and that was his biggest concern. 5 wins and none versus over 500 teams with the Bears and Steelers coming up, smiley face, right? He stood tall on that. But also what he did, and where I think I've seen throughout this entire week, it's not just him. Who's the other dude? This one right here. Now I'm gonna show this on the screen, but I'm not gonna read this verbatim because he's spazzing a little bit. But he said if these accounts are going to be so annoying, the least that they can do is observe and actually use sample sizes. Washington's had an incredibly easy schedule, and they still almost got doubled up by Tampa in week 1. They only beat New York Giants because Graham Gano was hurt. So here's my thing. I think it's ironic that Mario, who made that tweet, says they can at least observe actually useful sample sizes when, you know, he's defending a person in Kev Masarijan who is doubling down on some things without actually even watching the games. And I think if you are a Washington Commanders fan and you're on this stream right now or listening to this podcast right now, you fully understand that what he said in defense of his statement in March holds no merit. You play an easy schedule, but you're given the schedule that you're given, right? You lose to Baltimore, who's a Super Bowl contender. You lose to Tampa Bay, who's a good team. You're beating these other teams by, like, you're blowing them out. 42-14 against Arizona, 40-7 against Carolina. What are we supposed to do about that? It's the NFL, man. Some games are gonna be close, right? He mentions New York Giants, right? And I mean, sure, like, that's a close game. But Cincinnati Bengals is a team where nobody expected them to win. 7-point underdogs. Kev doesn't mention that, right? Going into the game, they were 7-point underdogs. So why is it that Washington is not getting credit for whooping their ass from some of these people, right? So I think the sentiment, if you have that in March, like he says, and has an opinion that's so strong, it's okay to be wrong, right? The problem is you are getting some attention now about your original tweet, and now you say, what? You give your 3 bullet points. I think one of the bigger things for him, and just people in general, and understanding that, because this is a larger conversation, if I may add. Let me go. How do I get back to? Okay. All right. My bad. I think for him, I think for fans or fans of the game, fans of NFL, people like him to have that opinion, I think this is like a narrative building thing that people are trying to find a way to knock Washington. And I think for Washington to be in that space to where you are being recognized as a good team and you have people who are contrarian individuals, I think that's a good space to be in. I think that if you are genuinely in that boat where you think that they aren't a good team, right, then that's fair. But if you look at the team and you see that they have one of the elite, one of the best offenses in the NFL to this point, right? Still efficient enough against Baltimore, but the defense couldn't get off the field. But we're not recognizing that part, right? Your very first game with the new regime against Tampa Bay Buccaneers, things doesn't look too good. But I guarantee you this is a closer game if they play each other in the middle of the season. I just think that the context is missing from that side. But also, if you're in this boat where people are questioning, like, your legitimacy, that's the problem. I mean, that's a good thing. But the problem in that gap as well is not understanding how good Jayden Daniels is. Right? Jayden Daniels is a dog. And if you watch all 7 of his games from a person who has that outside perspective, if you watch all 7 of those games, you wouldn't even be believing some of the things that you're saying. I think Jayden Daniels is the reason why this offense and this team has a chance on the field. I think that when you look at a person in Cliff Kingsbury who gives the offense life, right? Who paints the picture, or gives the offense and Jayden Daniels the tools to paint, and they do a perfect job. Like there's nothing messed up from Jayden when he takes over with the drawing brush or the paintbrush. Like I think all of those things need to be taken into account. So I say all that to say there are going to be fans out there who has the opinions of what's dude's name again, of Kev, right, and Mario, who don't believe in Washington because the schedule is weak. You can't control the schedule. You can only put belt to ass on the players or the teams that's in front of you. And Washington is handling business. You got, now he is right. Chicago and Pittsburgh is up next. And if you listen to the podcast on Sunday, those are going to be Washington's biggest immediate threats. Can't sleep on the Giants. Giants plays Washington close almost all the time. And genuinely, they have a really good defense. The Giants do. It's their offense that's the problem. So I want to make it clear that the Giants aren't sweet, but they are up next, I think, after Chicago. And then I think it's Pittsburgh after that. So you have to understand that, you know, there are some good matchups coming up for Washington. I just think when you look at the situation in terms of who Washington is as a team versus the opinion that they haven't played anybody good, I think it's misguided. You can't critique them because they haven't played anybody good or they lose to the teams that aren't good. I mean, that are good on their schedule. We're talking about a Super Bowl caliber team in Baltimore, who they fumbled the bag against the Vegas Raiders, and then lost to a Super Bowl contender in the Kansas City Chiefs. And they rolled through damn near everybody else. So, I mean, what are we really doing here? Tampa Bay, they beat a Super Bowl contender in the Detroit Lions. Right? That is a serious team now. Monday night was a little rough for them. They got a couple injuries. You know, Mike Evans should have never been on that field. If he's never on that field, my bet gets voided. But he wants to stay on that field and be selfish. That's selfish, man. Mike. Making me waste my money. But they're a legitimate team too. So that's why I think like they aren't necessarily getting the credit. Washington isn't getting the credit that they deserve. So we all got to take these things into account. Okay, York missed 2 field goals, stopped that game. AP saying it'll be less value. Our O-line kept us from scoring a TD in the Giants. Yeah, I mean, honestly, 7 trips in the red zone is ridiculous with no touchdown. But that's kind of where the offense exploded after that. They took off. Okay. I think I'm missing something. Let me double check. Make sure I ain't missing nothing. I think I covered everything I came here to do. Okay. All right. Yeah, I think we're good. If you stayed through, appreciate it. I'm trying something on a different platform since I'm going solo, so I'm hoping this quality and the sound and everything turned out well. So yeah, that's gonna wrap it up for me today. We will be back tomorrow to preview the Chicago Bears and Commanders matchup. Hopefully Jayden is playing, but we're gonna talk about it tomorrow with AJ and Dre. And then on to the weekend, man. But yeah, we appreciate it. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. We up out here. Peace.
Trap it down. Trap it down. Trap it down. You gon' trap it down. Trap it down. You gon' trap it down. Damn, set, watch him throw the ball. We gon' pick it off. You gon' let him hit the hole or you gon' cut it off. You gon' play through 4th and long or you gon' punt it off. Your defenders, heavy hitters, put your pads in. Don't be looking for the ref to throw no flags in. Keep the helmet on, keep the cleats tight. You the type to want to win by any means, right? You should look alive. This is Trap or Dive.